Thank you. Hi, everyone. Today I talk about the using OpenTelemetry and Jaeger for instrumentation in Python. I think it's a very long title for my speak. I think it's very easy, like my title, nor confused with that. I told you how you can use OpenTelemetry and instrumentation for generate good observability in our projects, right? That is the objective for today. For the start, I told about myself, who is who is Jhonnatan Hill. I'm living actually in Colombia, like David mentions. Have a part of open source community works very well. Actually, I not mentioned here, but I have contributing now for community in especially for Kubernetes and glossary for CNCF. That works very well because you support the community and use this community for share your knowledge with others. That works very well. That amazing people in this case. I love people that have the same involved for love your community and the love for technology too. But who is Johnny Pong? Johnny Pong or Jhonnatan Hill is a simple human that loves Linux, that love share knowledge. I'm very passionate about the a lot of ecosystem in technology, and try to do something very easy, but could be made some scripts could be difficult or live some days, but you work very well in sometimes. That it's my social network. You can find me in GitLab and GitHub and Twitter by Jhonnatan24 and YouTube too. But for the moment, I have just videos in Spanish mode and some conference to share in my YouTube channel. I love this phrase from Confucius: "Life is really simple, but we insist on making complicated." That's true. That's when you try to doing something different in your life. In our IT teams, it's very difficult to try to generate some scripts, but your life in sometimes is more easy for that. This is our agenda. We talk about observability. What is the big topic about the observability and what happened with observability and why I talk about the OpenTelemetry and Jaeger because we need it, right? Right. Why observability is so important? APM versus instrumentation, observability, the going triangle. What is OpenTelemetry? Like a little speak about Jaeger, and we spend more time in a little demo. Okay, but what is observability? Observability will be born from the instrumentation for what I need to check inside of my in my IT, because I need to check, look around what happened in my IT team. But what is the components for my IT team? I have a network components, I have a database components, I have applications, I have a lot of objects inside of IT that support our application for internal customers and external customers. What is the focus for observability? Check and obtain this information around this all infrastructure, all of objects around the technology, how to could be put it all together and could be obtain and define what is the best way for obtain the best information for a log, for process, for RAM, for a lot of information that I can take from my IT components. For the other hand, we need to talk a little from DevOps and SRE, because with DevOps, we define how to can I deploy more faster using tools, how to you can manage, could be the culture, how to you move, look around, the culture moves more fast inside of our companies, how to you can generate this or try to eliminate common mistakes for our teams for deliver more fast for our company, right? I told you a little part. What happened with observability is a huge search, but no is the objective. Could be you can find some more in depth about the observability and observe how do you can observe in our companies in this book. I share this link before my talk about the blue books from SRE from Google. These are totally free and you can download and reading about it. What is observability and how to Google's could be is the best way for observability and how to you can obtain the best part for observability and incoming these new features for our IT teams or for the application or for the all stuff that we need to check what happened in what time, right? Move so fast for observability. Why observability? First, a little concept about a hidden ledger behind our apps. First, we have in sometimes, okay, here, okay, we have our application. Our application have could be a database with application save some data in archive like I don't know shared folder could be. We have a load balancer, we have a firewall, we have a cloud, and our client or customers inside of our application. We need to travel around these a lot of components for obtain what is the best way for generate this communication for from the outside and the inside the application. That is the big part for the application. We have a lot of components behind the application, but what happens if the firewall fails or load balancer fails? The user just check, hey man, the application is down. What happened here? But he doesn't know, and he doesn't important about what other components sit behind for the application. The man just using the app and just needed the app. But what happened behind this ecosystem? What happened behind of this infrastructure for the application? Doesn't matter for our customer. That it's important because the customer doesn't important. Oh no, it's the AWS down. Then my application for my vendor is down too because AWS. No, the customer just my application is down and doesn't matter. Will be find the next application because I have to do something new and the my customers generate a mis perspective for our application and generate, hey man, could be this application don't work doesn't work very well because it's down. Then the customer generate this misconception about my application and the opportunity for satisfy these customers is very difficult because the customers doesn't know what happened really for our application. Then that's very simple, but what happens if we have a ecosystem based in microservices? That is very hard way because I don't have one database. Could be I have 6 database, 7, a lot of databases. I use other components like other load balancer for every application, or could be I have one load balancer. I have one cloud provider, so I have 2, 3, or something like that. A lot of cloud providers. I have one web system for storage. I have a lot of languages for implementation my app, and I have a lot of ecosystem around the what happened with my application, what happened with the data, what happened with the customer. That is a little spidey. This is spidey. Oh man, I hold on this a lot of this, but it's very difficult for this. Try to doing something like that, really. But what happened if someday the database for one microservice fails, other component fails the app, and another application, another part of the application fails the storage, or my cloud provider is down, or my load balancer is down? That it's very difficult to check when is the root cause for our application. What is the first objective for observability is identify fast this root of root cause cases that we take in our application. What is the best way? What is the alert for what happened in my application if the firewall is down, or my application is down, or my database is down, or my object storage is down. But I need some eyes inside of my application, like our system control, our nervous control. We have a nervous central system for define for our brain. Hey man, something happened in our body. We need to move so fast for, I don't know, could be is for the bathroom, or could be is for eat. But the alarm was the I'm hungry. Then my action for generate some actions inside for this alarm is, hey man, I need to eat something for could be better with my stomach. Then we have in this part two parts, APM and instrumentation. The APM is the application performance monitoring, and what I can do in this part. You put inside of our application like a Java or Python or Node, and generate could be a daemon from APN, like from Datadog or New Relic or AWS or Azure or GCP, and obtain this data from the context from your application. But really, what happened with your application? It's try to using something like that. What happened with the current transaction inside of your application? That is part of the instrumentation. In a big part, in a big picture, APM obtain this information and send for any part, and instrumentation tell me more in depth what happened with my application. Could be with one transaction, could be with one communication, but depends with what define with my team from development team, what is the best way for using this implementation for instrumentation, right? With APM, just put inside with my application and sends the log, sends the process from, send the utilization from run or utilization for the storage, and obtain this data. It's very important, right? But the instrumentation define what is the part in my applications try to do with one transaction. That is the objective for instrumentation. For the other hand, we have golden triangle from observability. We have for one part the logs, the metrics, and traces. Logs. In first part, we have logs. This is the content data structure, like information about what happened inside of my application. For the other hand, we have metrics that contains information and average as from a service or an application, like a CPU, memory, and the other information around of my application. And we have traces, that the information for one transaction, one unique ID, and define with the communication with other events, right? That is objective for observability. For this part, we have a talk about the OpenTelemetry. OpenTelemetry as a part from a big picture from the CNCF, that is the first, the big picture from community, and is the second project behind of Kubernetes that have a lot of users constantly innovate and put new code for the community. For what part is Kubernetes also is so big important, and the second part is OpenTelemetry. That is the second project most important actually in CNCIF. For other hand, we have in this part OpenTelemetry like a Zoom, and we define this some concepts about the Jaeger and OpenTelemetry that is in the same objective, that is the what try to observe it for all my components inside of my application, focus in a cloud application like a cloud implementation. For one part, for OpenTelemetry, we have a logs, metrics, and traces. That is the triangle from observability, but we have a one more, that the bias. That is the how to correlate this information, or how to you can put the logs, traces, and metrics and define, hey man, this communication from my application to the database is part of this transaction, this part of transaction. That is biases, that is the focus for OpenTelemetry 2, that he have a four pillars for using inside of OpenTelemetry. But we talk about a little concept about the OpenTelemetry. We have our app, we have one part of receivers, the receivers that have a pull model, push model that obtain information about your application. On the other hand, we have processors for could be made some simple the information about the what happened and what I can do. And in the other hand, we have exporters. And the exporters take the information, was processed, was received, and send it for other components like a Grafana, Elasticsearch. For storage, that this definition, you can define with observability a big picture for definition inside of that, and you can send this data in one JSON could be, or YAML, or your format that you like to use, but normally is using JSON because it's more easily moved in our networks. And that's it. Jaeger is part like observability for observability terms inside of the CNCF. And this is the structure. Oh man, it's a big picture about the observability, the OpenTelemetry and Jaeger. But really, the objective for that, this this demo. This demo, we're talking about the what is part of instrumentation and how it works. In this case, we have Jaeger services that we can start with this command. Okay, let me try. We have this command here. We start this service of Jaeger, and this is started now. On the other hand, we have two folders, the one for instrumentation from OpenTelemetry. With OpenTelemetry, we have two modes from implements or instrument your application. One, for the automatic way, and you can import some stuff from OpenTelemetry and define what happened inside of that. On the other hand, we have instrumentation more in depth. With this instrumentation more in depth, you can define what is the transaction ID, what is the ID for your customers could be checked for what happened in what moment, and you can put it all together. If we can compare these files, checking these files, we have for one part the Flash framework that is implementation in Python. We have a request, we have a JSON that is similar in here, but we have some components very different in these implementations. More definition about in the first part, that is the auto instrumentation, and the second part is the instrumentation more in depth with OpenTelemetry. You can define in one part the part of the auto instrumentation, just provider, processors, and set traces from my application. But the other hand, we have the tracer provider and how we can put together for Jaeger. That is the part of the exporters that we send this information. On the other hand, we define a little definition of my application. What is the how to works my application that have a data inside of here in this, that's no doesn't matter. And for this, we can obtain some definition about the how to you can send this data for Jaeger and how to you can check in that. But what I can do it with that. Let me check for that. And in this, we can generate this application like normally in locally or could be put in Docker, and you can generate this with this command. And that's it. cd2, and we have these components and build our Docker definition, and we can app these applications too. Then for the first part, we can access for the Jaeger UI and check what happened here for the moment. The moment we have no services because just start the Jaeger, but no at the moment we don't set data inside of that. But what happened with this application that we can add with Kubernetes? Docker PS, we have this actual definition. We have this three application that is send the data, but how to can send more data inside of our Jaeger definition. We have in this a little curl command with 4 that generate, in this case, 10 requests for this application, but for different port. In this case, we sent for these three applications a lot of resources inside of Jaeger, and you can check here, refresh. We have appears product service, that is our implementation, and operation, that is obtain information about product. And we can find traces about that. And we have this information about what happened with our traces, what happened with these traces, what information have for one trace. I have some taxes that I can put more in depth for the instrumentation, and I obtain what is the road from a Python implementation, what is the port that is defined, what is the method that using, what is the library name for implementing observability, what is the part of the error, what is the information around this transaction, and how you can obtain this information, and you put inside of that could be some alerts about that, but in this case it's just uh, no data inside of my in my product because it's called from product 10, but in my database that is quickly to check in here, my database just have a 4 products and don't have the product 10. That is the why the application fails. Return then, and that's it for the theme of the demo. Please don't run this in production because have a lot of hard code, and you need to check some more in depth what defined with your teams and what is the the best practice for you and your teams define for that, because you need to define what is the best ecosystem. And that I have a little could be big picture because observability is a huge ecosystem, but is part of one part of more huge ecosystem, like that is part of the SIL, SLO, SIL, and SLA that you can use in our contracts, because you define what is the nines that you can support before for the application. And this is a big resume from our conference. We have taken a big picture from observability, what is log, what is metric, what is traces. Other hand, OpenTelemetry, receivers, possessors, and exporters, and take this look around inside of Jaeger. I hope you learned something new. Thank you very much.